Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's astrologer Eric Rosen here for your Viking Rising Daily Horoscope, your weekend horoscope for October 28th through the 29th. It's a full moon lunar eclipse weekend in Taurus. Thanks for being here. Speaking of Taurus, quality, you guys watching this video, the truth is that we want to make sure that we're putting only quality efforts forward from this point forward for the next 6 months. You know, we've had eclipses coming and going here really over the past 18 months plus, a little less than 2 years. And we've really gotten to know, I think, how much effort is truly needed, where more effortlessness can be practiced, especially during the Scorpio season. You know, looking at how deep do we have to drive into ourselves. I think this is definitely about finding our passion of what our true fulfillment is, of what is actually worthy of our time, to make sure that the frequency that we're putting out, you know, the things that we want to have, whether that's like abundance or more love or creativity or playfulness, that frequency that we're putting out is actually matching the timeline that we're calling in. And even if it feels like it is not identified in the way that we want it to look, that's actually just showing us areas of resistance where we can actually ground ourselves more down into an acceptance, into a rooting that, you know, there's really not so much that has to be done. I want to say that again. There's not so much that has to be done as we think. We create stress, we create resistance, we start vibrating at a frequency that doesn't match the timeline of the reality, the manifestation that we want to have, because we're struggling actually against our creator power to actually create the prosperity, to create the abundance. And although there are people that are on different levels in terms of where they're at in their manifestation process, you know, which is very much a Taurus trait, a Taurus quality, it stands to reason that no matter what, we're all being asked to up level. We're being asked to upgrade out of our comfort zone past new levels of fear, basically coming up for us to expand. This is about playing bigger, and playing bigger doesn't have to be necessarily out in the world. It can just even be just in the expansion in your personal life or in your health or your finances or your relationships. Playing bigger just means that making a deep intention with this lunar eclipse in Taurus that no more bullshit, that it's time to purge the dead weight. It's time to only call in things that are quality and don't require as much effort. You know, this lunar eclipse kind of reminds me a little bit of the 4-Hour Work Week. It was a book that Tim Ferriss did, who, you know, basically talked about designing a lifestyle where you don't have to work so much. And it was really interesting because he got like a bunch of death threats over it that he talked about, you know, like people's rigid, basically indoctrinated beliefs about that, you know, if you're not working 40 plus hours a week, you're a piece of shit, or whatever it was that people were saying. I feel like this eclipse really highlights I don't want to say debate, but at least a conversation that can be had when it comes to the evolution of masculine and feminine energies, of giving, receiving, of action and being passive, and seeing that maybe it's where we just dig deeper into who we are as individuals and like what makes us tick, and get more into an organic congruence of who we really are. And then that births the new philosophy of how much we want to work, or even in the moment of when it is congruent to work, or when it is congruent to take a moment to vacation. And maybe it's not so much about having this bigger philosophical exact structure outlook of how we're going to live our lives to try to give our minds a sense of comfort that we think that we'll get joy from because we know where things are going, but more so that we just get to know ourselves at a deeper level, and then we trust the divine timing and the divine structuring of things, as opposed to like a fixed philosophy, you know, whether we should be, you know, working more or doing less. I know a lot of people are being asked to slow down right now, a lot of, you know, but I also see it's like a lot of women I see being asked to slow down, but then men are, it's like almost like being asked to plow harder, but also getting the little knock at the window to like play more and receive more and just like go into those essences of things. And so I think the scary part for men specifically can be, opening that door to, who are we beyond our individual identity. And this applies to women too, that resonate more with their masculine side than their feminine. And there's quite a few actually, and especially in, it shows up a lot more in corporate workforce, sometimes even in the homes and stuff like that, as, as mothers and, wives and things like that. But it's not even so much, again, about the philosophy of these dynamics of masculine, feminine polarities. I think it's just, we open that door to go, who are we beyond the individual self, looking back in the mirror, like who, the transpersonal, the vibration that we are, the energetic beings that we are. And like, what is that? What are we being asked of there? And when we see something looking back at us that we don't like, or we want to condemn it or say we don't like that part, we just love it. We literally can give it physical love. We can give it an expression with this full moon in Taurus, because these are qualities that we're looking back, that with this lunar moon, that we're probably going to be judging the qualities, whether we like or dislike, probably based upon multiple factors. But our conditioning, what the situation was in the womb with your mother. Like these get into really deep existential things around Mother Earth energy and abundance and things like that, I feel, with this full moon. So I think we need to pay attention to, where the thoughts are going, because it's a reminder that, fear and lack and worry and not being in the present moment, that just like machines feed on humans as batteries in the matrix, so do negative entities in this reality feed off of the fear and negativity of our output. And maybe even more so, not even so much it feeding, because we are powerful and we don't have to give that power away, but this idea that when that's your frequency, you're connecting more with the consensus reality of lack, of limitation, or anger, or frustration, worry, all these different things, right? And this is what often leads to conflict in others, conflict in our own being and our own thinking with others, where it just erupts outwardly, because we're actually putting our thoughts into these negative spaces. And so I think, if anything, the thoughts can actually go into a space of where, if we're thinking more about like our heart's compass, and thinking more about, okay, like, how can I let my heart lead more? How can I let this define where I'm going, right? Because there's a magnetism to the heart. The heart wants to magnetize us closer to our manifestations. And so because we have free will, we can, of course, use the mind to evaluate, make decisions, have this go hard or go home, mentality, like a David Goggins. Or we can even have the voice, again, on the other end of the spectrum, that talks us into, you're tired, take a nap, take it easy, whatever it is. But it's like, if we can focus our thoughts more on this full moon of letting love lead at a much deeper level and make that deeper commitment, things become a lot more simple. There's almost, this is astrology where I think that it's a little complex on the back end of things, with some of the subconscious processing that is happening, that we just have to be patient with Saturn finishing its retrograde. But all in all, the rest of the astrology, I think, is asking us to stay a little bit more simple, a little bit more grounded, like dig deeper into your personal truth, right? For me, the only real truth is love at the end of the day, and bringing love into the absence of those recesses, and leaning into that infinite potential for creating more love, witnessing more love, being more love. For other people, they might not be there yet, or they have a different path, or they see things differently. But it's like, lean into your truth on this full moon. What is it that creation, what is it the divine feminine is asking us to birth? I think that's really the space to go. We don't get so distracted in our thinking, overdoing things too much, or having to unplug because we were burning out and overthinking and actually using way more energy than what we needed to. This is about being efficient. This is about being sustainable. This is about a full moon to see where we can really start to see the horizon of the things that I think that we've been working on with a lot of these Taurus eclipses over the past couple of years, where we can actually go in the direction that we were seeing that is more fruitful, that is more, and still, realistic, attainable, with the consistent process of the bull plowing the fields. When it comes to people's situations, just stay out of trouble, stay out of assuming you know where people are coming from, or taking things personally that people say right now. This is much more about, I would say, kind of like being friendly with others, because we may think we have all the information, but we're actually seeing is more of an emotional imprint of what we've went through in our own collective reality, and even personal realities to an extent. And so we don't want to be peer pressuring others. We don't want to be talking shit. We don't want to be devaluing others' opinions, especially during this time. When it comes to more of the world front, I think we just got to broaden that to a higher level of seeing it as people. This live and let live philosophy, might sound kind of triggering, but if the Jews and the Palestinians want to fight and kill each other, okay, that's their prerogative. It's an understanding that it's actually a fool's errand to try to control and influence anyone else's belief system or opinions, even if it results in them choosing to use their free will to harm others. I think we have to start to understand how much restriction of our own personal freedom, of the way that we govern and manifest our lives, that we're giving away when we start condemning others. We take ourselves into a negative vibration. If you really believe that what is being done is wrong and you don't condone it, and there are evil atrocities happening in the world, then you find an organic, positive way to manifest and express a different path. You show a different path for people. You embody it, you role model it, as opposed to putting it down. Because at this point, anyone that says anything is wrong or bad or condemns anything, and then they don't have a solution, or the solution is just more negativity or more judgment or more finger pointing, just shut the fuck up. Because honestly, that would be, if anything, the spiritual censorship is if you're just adding to more of the hate and the negativity, and you still can't find your way after this full moon to connect back to love and actually be the vessel of expression for that, or that's not something that you're inviting into your reality, then what are you doing here? What space, what oxygen are you taking up in the collective, just existing as the lowest vibrational density that there is of physical matter, and everything is just about the body and possessions and money, and there's no spiritual value systems. You won't make it these next few years if that's your line of thinking. It won't go well. There's an extinction process in store that you get so many opportunities in this lifetime, future lifetimes. You've had it in past lifetimes to choose the evolutionary process that is available to humans on Earth. And so for those that continue to preach hate and negativity, there's just certain levels of where, to quote the show Loki, you get pruned, you get kind of sent to this, sort of abyss of time where you're not even on a timeline, and you're almost in this just purgatory waiting to be reassembled or something. So, there's not timelines really available. It's kind of weird, but it's Mars in Scorpio, a full moon lunar eclipse. The last one we're going to see in Taurus for, basically another 18 years. I don't want to scare people, but there's not timelines available for people once we get a few more years out. And so the good news is that no one has to pressure themselves. No one has to overthink their process. I think people need to caution themselves about researching too much and trying to pack in more information about what's going on in the world or more tools or modalities. It's like you're the fucking tuner. Like don't be a tool by needing more tools, you know, like you have everything that you need. This is a resource. This is the most resourced time that we're going to see going forward. You know, this is one of those pivotal moments to really realize just how resourced we are.